Thank you very much. You may sit. Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honourable Mia Amor Motley, Deputy Prime Minister and members of Parliament for the constituency of St. Michael South East, the Honourable Santia Bradshaw, Minister of Transport and Works, Senior Minister Coordinating Infrastructure, the Honourable Kirk Humphrey, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Dr. the Honourable Romel Springer, other members of Parliament and Cabinet Ministers, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Mr. Terry Bascom, Acting Head of the Public Service, Director Generals, Dr. Lysandra Tudor, Son Alair, family members, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen here and joining us online, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Bailey and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for this renaming ceremony of the Pine East-West Boulevard in honor of the late Philip Tudor, Chief Technical Officer. I'm now going to invite Minister Sonia Johnson of New Dimension Ministries to deliver the opening prayer. If you could stand for prayer, I would appreciate that, please. Thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting Father, our Savior Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, who leads us in all truth, we pause to express our gratitude. Thank you for life, God, and for your kindness towards each of us. Today we welcome your presence, Lord, and blessings. God, we gather with hearts filled with celebration, gratitude, hope, and respect as we honor the life and legacy of Philip Adrian Howard Tudor. Father in heaven, your word underscores the need to honor those who serve with distinction by showing love and appreciation. On this special day, God, we thank you for the gift of Philip's remarkable life, marked by years of honest service, kindness, unwavering dedication, and the silent sacrifices that have touched deeply to all of us. May his memory continue to inspire and uplift us for generations. Heavenly Father, may this ceremony truly honor the man he was, reliable, devoted, and professional. May his family, colleagues, and friends be assured that his impact endures, reaching outward and touching lives in ways we cannot see. God bless this occasion. Bless every word in his honor, every memory, God, and every tear and every smile. Let it symbolize more than a street name, God, but let it reflect our dedication to the values that guided Philip's service to this nation. So God, thank you again, and together we say amen.
Thank you very much. I want to also, in this moment of reflection, ask you to also take a moment of silence as the Ministry of Transport and Works sadly lost Senior Technical Officer in the Design Services section of the ministry who passed away last Friday, June 26. So in this moment of reflection, I would ask that we just take a moment of silence in tribute to him. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated. So as I contemplated this ceremony today, and as I was thinking about what I would say, we're going to keep things moving along today. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking in between our speakers because we have a lot of very passionate and important speakers today. I was talking to PS just now about how important it is to recognize public servants in the way that the ministry is today. I am a public servant, even though I'm not in the government of Barbados right now. Once a public servant, always a public servant. And it's not just a job, it's an ethos, I think. So recognizing Mr. Tudor in this way, I think, is really important. And it is also an inspiration to other public servants to really be dedicated about the work that they do. as I am and continue to be, and as he was. So thank you very much to the family for being here today, and thank you to the ministry for doing this. I'm now going to introduce our Minister of Transport and Works and Senior Minister Coordinating Infrastructure, Kirk Humphrey, to deliver the welcome remarks. Mr. Humphrey.
This is always my favorite part, where you raise the microphone. It makes me feel I'm tall. All right, very special good afternoon to all. It's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here. On behalf of the PM, I just apologize. She just had to rush and take an important call. So she just wanted me to say that to you. But Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, other members of the Cabinet who are here, other members of Parliament who are also here, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Bascom, who's here, Head of the Service, Acting Ms. Gail Atkins, who's here, family of the reason we are here, Mr. Tudor, to his wife, Dr. Lysandra Tudor and his son, Alir Tudor, thank you so much for being here. And also thank you for giving us this opportunity to honor Philip in this way. Other members of the public service, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all. It is my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon to be part of this ceremony to honor Philip Tudor. I want to welcome you. As the MC said, this is not really just, I think the prayer. This is not only about a renaming, but this is about honoring someone who has done significant work. And in a way, it is also about honoring all public servants. Because Barbados has perhaps one of the most distinguished public services to be found anywhere in the world, and we should honor them for that. I think that deserves for them a round of applause. I must tell you that I also welcome you because I know these streets very well. I grew up around here. I ran up and down this street many times. I knew MTW workers very well. MTW actually propped up the pine. Y'all may not know this, but MTW used to visit all the shops, buy the food, all kinds of shops. Buy the food that we were able then to have some way to send children to school, including myself. Visited households, some, MTW men were popular when I was a boy. Not Philip Tudor. But MTW and the Pine really they're so closely linked, and the relationship is one that is sacred and one that means a lot to me. So in that regard, I'm also very honored to have the opportunity to also be here and to say a few words. I did not at the time know Philip Tudor as an MTW man. Let me say that up front. I got the opportunity to know him when I was a public servant, and once a public servant, always a public servant. Sometimes I think I behave like a PS. PS would say. But once a public servant, always a public servant. I knew Philip's name. I knew his name. It was associated with excellence. It was associated with hard work. And it was associated with putting in that extra to go the extra mile. If I had any regrets since I became a minister, to be truthful, is that I did not get the opportunity to be in the same ministry, to have the opportunity to work with them. But I feel that he mentored some of the staff in MTW so well that I get to work with his example. And because of that, his legacy will continue throughout the public service and beyond, way beyond the time that he has graced us on this earth. So I want to welcome each and every one of you here this afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming and allowing us to share in this moment. I really want to thank the family for allowing us to share in this moment. I must tell you that this means a lot to the staff in MTW, who from the time I came to MTW, they were saying to me, and I know the DPM had also asked me, when are we going to honor Philip Tudor? And I think it is because all of us know him, all the MPs know him. I think he had all of our numbers and all of us had his. And the thing about him is that when you message him, he would respond. And when you call him, he would respond. And I thank him for the work that he has done. I greet you and I welcome you on behalf of a most thankful ministry, but even more importantly, a most thankful nation. And I welcome you to this brief ceremony this afternoon to honor a very, very good man. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Minister. I chose the right shoes today then, because if I had worn the other shoes, I would have been at the same height as you, but that's okay. I must apologize, I did not give the name of the person that we also took a moment of silence in honor of. In that moment, I did not say his name. David Linton. He was Senior Technical Officer in the Design Services section, and he passed away last Friday. Another excellent, amazing public servant who we lost just recently. And I know that hit the ministry really hard. So I'm sorry I did not say his name, and we have spent a moment to think about him. I am now going to call on Deputy Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for St. Michael South East and former MTW Minister. So Minister Humphrey had to step into her very elegant shoes, and I think he has done so. Please welcome the Honorable Santia Bradshaw. I know we have to raise the mic again. That's right.
Senior Minister has been walking well, is all I can say. So, Honorable Prime Minister, Senior Minister Humphrey, Minister of Infrastructure, and my minister who has had to take on the baton of running this very difficult ministry, Dr. Ramel Springer, who was my colleague, right hand in terms of when I was minister as well. Good afternoon to you. Also to other honorable ministers, the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Bascom, other distinguished guests, members of and staff of the Ministry of Transport and Works, my colleagues, family of the late Philip Tudor, ladies and gentlemen. Again, let me just say, this is a very difficult moment because I'm being reminded and standing in this space where we're celebrating the life of Mr. Tudor, but equally, I am also remembering the life of David Linton at the same time. And I would just want to say, please accept my condolences to the staff of the ministry as well. Both of these men whose lives we will celebrate and we will continue to celebrate serve this ministry with all their heart and soul. I had the opportunity with Mr. Linton to work with him in the Ministry of Education. He was a very dedicated officer as well within that ministry, and he gave his heart and soul as well to this ministry, doing tremendous work with myself and Tudor, developing a lot of designs for the Princess Alice Terminal, all of the various depots, and many other things that he did in terms of design. Now, the reason we are here today is because I believe it was at Mr. Tudor's funeral. In the weeks preceding the funeral, we discussed what we could do in terms of being able as a ministry and certainly as a government to create a lasting legacy beyond just the acknowledgement of it by the people who would have known Mr. Tudor. And two things came to the fore. One was the renaming of the road that Mr. Tudor would have driven on for several years, almost four decades, to come to work every day, to be able to impart his knowledge and his life of service on the people who worked here, but also to build a nation that is indebted to him for being able to give us so many roads across this country. The second thing that we had said at the time was that we wanted to do the renaming of the lab. And Senior Minister, if you haven't had a chance to go by the lab thus far, I suggest you go there because that will be your next task in terms of bringing the renaming to that building. It is where Mr. Tudor spent a number of years. It is a place that he was extremely passionate about. The lab for MTW is a place, if you all don't know, because it's one of our best kept secrets, that it is a place where we do a lot of the soil testing. And we have done a lot of work there. The staff are extremely well qualified. And Mr. Tudor was very passionate about making sure that this particular entity was brought back to life, not only with resources, but with technical capacity as well. So today we are fulfilling one of two commitments which we made following Mr. Tudor's passing. They are not simply symbolic gestures. For me, they're lasting reminders of a life that was dedicated to building Barbados and improving the lives of its people. There are people who work on roads, and then there are people who dedicate their entire lives to building them improving them and using them as instruments of national development. Philip Tudor belonged firmly in the latter category. Creating roads was his life's work, and for decades he devoted himself to planning, to designing, to constructing and improving the national road network. He understood that roads were never just asphalt and concrete. Let me repeat it. Roads are not simply asphalt and concrete. They're not even about curb and slipper. They're not about any of those things. He understood that roads were lifelines. They connected families to schools. They connect the farmers to markets. They connect patients to healthcare and communities to opportunity. In every project, he saw not just the engineering, but also the nation building. He also played a pivotal role in bringing to life the Prime Minister's request of him to develop the Short Roads program and In She Walks. That program, I think, if I recall, took place where the Prime Minister and him were walking in St. John, in Gaw Hill, and as usual, she had the vision for being able to stop poor people from having to take off their shoes and have another pair of shoes when the rain was falling to stop them from having to traverse through water. And we understood that, Tudor then had to come up with a plan to be able to use the material off of the road, the milling material, to ensure that that program came to life, that we were able, as we developed the roads, that we were able to take the asphalt off the road and be able to turn communities now into somewhere where people could be able to walk easily. Barbadians were able through that program to gain proper access to their homes for the first time. And Mr. Tudor ensured that the national vision was translated into practical outcomes that directly improved the daily lives of our people. It is therefore especially fitting that a man who spent his entire career building roads should now be honored with one that bears his name. But beyond the roads themselves, Philip Tudor also built people. He invested deeply in the development of those around him, passing on almost 4 decades of institutional knowledge within this ministry. That knowledge was shared freely and widely, from the most junior member of staff to senior leadership, and even to me as minister, and to my then parliamentary secretary. He treated everyone with dignity and respect, and in return, he was admired, trusted, and deeply loved across the organization. And I give you the joke, even the janitors across the depots love Philip Tudor. Everybody could recount situations where Tudor was not just firm, but he was also extremely fair as well. A defining part of his leadership was his commitment to field-based learning and decision-making. He believed that infrastructure could not be properly understood from behind a desk. You had to walk it. You had to measure it. You had to see it. You had to feel it. And he spent countless hours in the field, on roads, in the communities, along the water courses, along the drains, and at construction sites, ensuring that decisions were grounded in the reality of our people. For most Barbadians, they would recall that Paris speaks. Philip Tudor became the public face of all things related to roads in this country, explaining our challenges, the processes, and the successes, while carrying the immense burden of an entire ministry on his shoulders. My relationship with Tudor was built on trust. We established boundaries early. He never minded a call after hours or a WhatsApp message on weekends, and we had a joke that his wife, Dr. Lysandra, who tells me I can call her Lysandra, but I will call her Miss Tudor, would not be upset because she knew that it was the minister on the phone, on the other end of the phone. And the truth is, he responded whether it was early morning, whether it was late at night, or even on weekends. And I really want to thank you, Ms. Tudor, for giving me the opportunity to take away some of your time as well, because it was indeed time well spent. I learned a lot from Philip Tudor. I came to a ministry out of education. I came with a background from law, lots of other things, but I never expected when I was asked to be Minister of Public Works that I would come to understand so many things about road infrastructure. And I remember our visit to Bordens in Ramel's area, where we went to look with Mr. Wendell Patrick, who I don't see here, but who, again, is another stalwart of this ministry. Where we visited this bridge, I remember falling as well, because back then, again, it was early days, and I didn't have on the correct shoes. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I decided to climb down a slope and landed on my bottom. And Mr. Tudor just laughed as he would, and he said, well, you got a lot more of those falls to do, but just make sure you got the right shoes. And I remember in that moment when we were trying to figure out what to do with Bordens Bridge, it was a difficult situation because Ramel at the time was very concerned about the traversing of the people within the Bordens community and the surrounding districts. And while we were there chatting at the bottom of the bridge, which had collapsed a few weeks before, I remember Tudor sharing about this bridge study back in 1986 that had been done, and that the bridge study needed updating. And then he took me on a whole lesson about bridges across the country. He shared all of his intimate knowledge of bridges and what was required. He taught me about the cost of bridges. He taught me about the fact that you couldn't build a bridge without the road, and that therefore there were certain steps that were required in order to be able to almost perfect what we were doing in road infrastructure. You know, people complain a lot. People expect a road has a pothole and overnight you're supposed to just somehow fix it. But not Philip Tudor. Philip Tudor made sure that we all in the ministry had the benefit of his extensive knowledge of what was needed in terms of the preparation and the various steps to make sure that we got it completely right. It did mean that at times it took a little bit longer to get things done. But the one thing that was clear was that he was very clinical in the way in which he approached not just bridge replacements and rehabilitation, but also in the way that he approached road rehabilitation generally. And it was there that I learned how critical it was to prepare these designs in advance so that when funding became available, we could act immediately. I could say without fear of contradiction that that was the day on which I left there and I decided I'm going to read the study. And then we later, through the ministry, engaged consultants to be able to look not only at updating the study, and the wonderful team at MTW, some young technicians were able to, and engineers were able to update that bridge study from 1985, but also go on now to be able to engage international experts to help us to do the designs that are necessary to develop the road infrastructure and bridge infrastructure in Barbados. That is also where I came to understand from Philip that with having this knowledge that it would allow us to be able to help data to drive decision making. And I also recall that we and I went to Texas. Prime Minister, you may recall this. We had the idea to be able to introduce roller compacted concrete into Barbados. And myself and Philip went to Texas to see a company that was introducing it to us. He believed in innovation, even when it came at a higher initial cost. He shared with me that when we did concrete roads back in the 60s, those roads were still standing up. And anything technologically that could improve the road infrastructure in this country and allow our roads to last longer, that he was fully committed to making whatever efforts there were to make those changes. I see C.O. Williams here, and I could say even he taught me about crumb rubber. I tell you, I became an expert on all things road infrastructure and drainage infrastructure because of a man called Philip Tudor. And one of the things that he understood about the investment that this country had to make and government had to make was that even sometimes when the initial costs are high, it is what we have to do is to be able to plan very carefully what we're doing so that the investment in terms of long term, that the public can actually see what that investment is going to look like long term. He understood back then too that our capacity in terms of contracting was limited, and that the only way that we were going to be able to catch up on the demands that the public was asking us to do was to expand the number of contractors, expand the techniques with which we were using. And that was one of the things that certainly last few months before he passed that we were working on. Across these field experiences, though, and the technical engagements, there was one truth that was consistent. He did not manage infrastructure from a distance. Philip Tudor lived it. He walked it, and he understood it in its full reality. Even under pressure, no matter where the pressure came from, his composure never wavered. He remained calm when he was challenged, open to reflection, and willing to acknowledge when a position required reconsideration. I can't recall a time when Philip raised his voice. I don't know if he did it at home, but he never raised it to me, and I never saw him visibly upset about anything. PM used to go at him every now and again, and we all saw that publicly, but he never lost his composure. And the one thing he would come back on the Monday or the next day and do is sit down in our management meetings and say, I gotta find a solution. The Prime Minister after me, I gotta find a solution. And he would get to work the next day with the team, and we would sit down and we would try to work out what it was that we needed to do to correct whatever had gone wrong. He listened, he assessed, and he responded with a steady professionalism. And that temperament earned him the respect across every level of society. Across the ministry, he helped to shape and strengthen decades of institutional knowledge. I recall at the funeral, I also said that the ministry and the country lost 40 years of institutional knowledge, and it is a fact. The Ministry of Public Works has had to be rebuilt, not just while grieving, but it has had to rebuild its institutional capacity and its human resource capacity as well. From the janitors to the senior leadership, he was respected and he was valued. And he created an environment where people felt seen, heard, and a part of a shared mission. Those who worked closely with him recall a leader who was approachable, solution-oriented, and deeply committed to excellence. He inspired major national infrastructure works across the island and consistently pushed teams to deliver their best. The CAF projects, the IDB projects, the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation projects all bear the legacy and the hard work and commitment of Philip Tudor. He also understood people. Whether speaking with contractors, engineers, depot workers, or members of the public, Philip Tudor treated everyone with respect. His leadership was grounded not only in technical expertise, but in humanity. And across all the reflections that I have heard shared since his passing, one truth remains clear. He was a nation builder in the fullest sense of the word. And today, it is my pride, it is my distinct honor that we can stand here today and honor a man who spent his entire life building roads, building systems, and building people. Today, as we unveil the Philip Tudor Boulevard, we do more than rename a road. We honor a life of service, of transformation, humility, and a lasting national impact. And I'm proud to be a part of this moment, not only as one who worked with Philip, but as the MP for St. Michael's South East. Minister Humphrey has run around this constituency, and I have run around it behind him as well, and with him. And this road is on the boundary of my constituency. I am happy that a road that is in my constituency, and certainly a ministry that I've had the opportunity to lead with Philip Tudor, could now bear his name. To the Tudor family, his beloved and deeply supportive wife, whom he adored, and who stood faithfully by his side, his son, a proud pilot. And I can tell you, Tudor was so happy. I'm telling you, Alair, I'm telling you, he was so happy with your achievements. And also looking forward to spending time with your children, his grandchildren as well. He often spoke with great pride of your achievements in aviation. And nothing lit up his face more than the joy of being a grandfather. I think apart from the fish, it was being a grandfather, right? Actually, that I will tell you all this quickly. For all of the public servants who work really hard, right? Philip kept an aquarium in his office. And I think he did so because, again, a man who was doing so much work and always so busy needed time to be able to just have a little downtime where he could just watch these fish and just relax. And perhaps that's maybe the takeaway to all of you. I know all of you have worked hard through COVID. Sometimes we push you as a government to work above and beyond the call of duty because we know how much is at stake. Prime Minister pushes us too, so in turn we pass it on to you as well. But it is always from a good place to be able to see the best and to get the best out of our people and to get the best out of Barbados. And I think that in all that you are doing, in all that you are trying to accomplish in the ministries, I would urge all of you to take some time for yourselves and for your families. Because in the end, while we pay tribute to Mr. Tudor, we cannot forget that Mr. Tudor's family shared him with us and gave us a wonderful opportunity to have a gentleman and a man who has committed so much in terms of his life of service to this ministry and also to the country. So this evening, I stand proudly, not only as MP, but former minister, and certainly as a member of this government, to be able to honor his life. And hopefully at the appropriate time, we can also honor, while some of our workers are alive as well, Prime Minister, that we can take the opportunity to really start to honor a number of the civil servants while they are alive, so that they can be truly recognized for their contributions and be a part of the celebration. Not when they retire, but I think an acknowledgement while many of you are also alive. So again, thank you very much, and I hand over back to you, Madam MC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister, for sharing your reflections with us. It's true, a road is not just asphalt and concrete, and Mr. Tudor was not just an engineer. So thank you very much for sharing that. We're going to take a break now from the speeches, and we do have a neighbor of the MTW represented here, the Parkinson Memorial School, and we are going to welcome Miss Denisha Beckles, who will deliver a solo for us. Please make her feel welcome. why she's making that face at me. You did a great job. Give her another round of applause. She's looking at me like, I don't know. And that is not an easy song. So great job, Denisha. Thank you so much. We are now going to welcome Denise Smith. She's Finance Officer in the Ministry of Transport and Works, and she will deliver a tribute to the late Philip Tudor.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Protocol has been established. I have the privilege of working closely with Mr. Tudor. After joining the Ministry of Transport and Works in January 2018, through our work together, I came to know him as an exceptionally knowledgeable and dedicated professional who was deeply committed to the public service. His expertise, integrity, and willingness to support his colleagues earned the respect and adoration of everyone who worked with him. I will always treasure our final conversation the day before his illness, when he visited my office to discuss the submission of the estimates. We double-checked and confirmed the accuracy. The conversation continued until after 5 p.m. as we discussed several other topics for about an hour. At that time, sadly, I had no idea it would be my last and final hour with Mr. Philip Tudor. Mr. Tudor served both this ministry and the country with distinction. His professionalism and presence will be greatly missed. May Mr. Tudor continue to rest in eternal peace. Thank you very much. That was hard on me because I was the last person that saw him that Friday evening. Thank you.
I could tell that that still felt very, very difficult for you. So thank you very much for making it through that. Thank you. We are now going to turn to Mr. Tudor's son, Alair, who we've heard so much about before. He is a pilot with Delta Airlines. I'm not sure if your wife and son are here in Barbados with you. They didn't make it, but they were supposed to be here with you. But we're glad that you are here. And I'm sure he is honored to be here for this renaming ceremony in honor of his father. Please welcome Alair Tudor as he delivers remarks on behalf of the family.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw, Deputy Prime Minister, Parliamentary Representatives of St. Michael Southeast, the Honorable Kirk Humphrey, Minister of Transport and Works, and Senior Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. the Honorable Ramel Springer, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Works, ever members of Parliament, Mr. Terry Bascom, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport and Works, specially invited guests, staff of the ministry, and friends, family. I want to thank you all for being here. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to Ms. Pamela Payne, who was instrumental in working with the Permanent Secretary to make this event a reality and ensure I'd be here for it. For the few that may not know me or remember me, it seems as though many do. My name is Alair, the son of Philip Tudor, and I'm so happy to be in front of you speaking today and it to be on better terms than it was last time. I stand here on behalf of my family to talk about my dad and why I believe this honor bestowed upon him was well-deserved. Today, we're celebrating the man that gave his all to his work and using him as an example for others to follow, ensuring his name is enshrined in history for future generations, to know of his dedication to his profession and his craft. The wish for all of us when we start out in our professional careers is that we will be remembered for what your profession was and ensure that you leave the world just a little bit better than you found it, or your circle as well. Also that God will grant you the time to do so. In the little time that we had him, I believe he did that, silently encouraging many of us to be better and to give your all in what you do. He did this not by just saying it, but also setting the example. Even me being up here today is testament to that. Those who know me personally, family for sure, will know that I could be a little bit socially awkward. I'm a little quiet, well reserved as well. But he always told me that to speak up, push your chest up. He'd always tell me that, hey, if it's something that you love, you should be able to speak. And the words will come, the confidence is going to come. He exhibited this even in his parliamentary debates, the estimate debates, the many CBC interviews. He did, speaking as a subject matter expert in town hall meetings right up until his passing. To him, it didn't matter what you did in public, though. It mattered what you did when no one was noticing behind the scenes. Because he was so quiet and humble, there are cynics out there who may argue he just did his job. But I could tell you that growing up and in my adult life, that's kind of rare. And most people are just comfortable with doing what's required, that's it, not going above and beyond. He didn't. Many of you would know he was Mr. Reliable. I didn't coordinate this speech with the other people, but you already had two ministers come up and say the exact same thing. He was the one that, no matter what, he would rain or sunshine, day or late night hours, vacation, on duty, he was available. Many a Sunday, I remember being, even as a young adult, he would ask me, randomly, he'll be in my bedroom, he'd come in, he'll say, Larry, you want to go for a drive? All right, no problem. This will usually entail me going to the airport. I get to see some airplanes land. And then we will drive up, and all of a sudden, he'll make the left over here by the pine, come down. On Sunday, go through the closed gate. He'll say hi to the watchman or whoever it is. He'll pick up a bunch of fowls, walk them back to the car, throw them in the car, and he'll work on them at night. If he didn't do this, he'll pass the pine, and the next thing, I end up at a job site. I don't know how that happened. I went for a drive. Apparently, I was talking to my mom about these stories and reminiscing, and she often stated that he'd entice her earlier on with going to get some fruit, and then she would end up at the East Coast. Like, it's the same deal. I guess that was him working out the family-work balance, you know. I swear, before he got the ministry-issued van, we probably had the highest mileage Toyota to sell on the island. No matter the administration, no matter the challenges, he believed a good work ethic and strong core values transcended God-given abilities. It's almost cliche at this point for parents, but he'd always tell me that as long as you tried your hardest, I'm happy. That's all I want from you. And that's all he wanted from everyone he interacted with. In particular, his operations department here in the ministry he loves so dearly. He believes strongly that those who put in the effort should gain recognition that they deserve. And that's why he pushed to do the first award ceremony of this type for his technical staff here at the ministry. Despite opposition, he worked with guys like Mr. Richard Skeet, see him over there taking pictures, Mrs. Graves, and Mrs. Springer to ensure that event be a success. I believe this was back in 2005. Many people become managers by title. In my job, for instance, maybe seniority. Though there are the select few that do so because they've earned it. People didn't call my dad boss because it was a title on a door. Most of the time at the ministry, he was just one of the senior technical officers. But he did so because whenever they needed a path forward, he was the one that they went to, literally leading from the front. Now, if he was here, I know he'd be nudging me on the shoulder and telling me, look, this is my honor alone, and that is something he would be emphasizing because, again, he's so humble. But it was earned through the support he's had from all his staff here at the ministry throughout his 37 years. I looked through my father's various speeches for inspiration for this write-up and came upon his BAPE fellowship speech in 2020. Even though the award was given for his accomplishments, he, humble as ever, took the opportunity to make sure that he mentioned everyone who believed in him and shaped him. So I'll do the same. To the technical officers, guys like Mr. Archer, Thornhill, Nash Level, the technicians, the engineers, the various contractors, and of course, the general workers, you all made this possible. And thank you. I thought long and hard on how to end this speech, and Ms. Pamela Payne gave me one request, just made one request to me, to ensure that I speak from the heart. So spare a moment while I did so. There were many times where I thought Dad was crazy, working so hard. And he was always the one who would do whatever is needed, no matter who it was, whenever it was, wherever it was. He always did it. And I told him, I would argue with him that, man, did nobody appreciate it? I don't think so. I mean, you just working, you know? And he's, nah, man, you argue. Nah, they appreciate it. I know that it matters to people. Yeah, there was a time where he was arguing about it very recently, and he said, this was while he was asking her about begging my mom for 2 more years because he wanted to really see the Scotland District project, and I believe it was the Highway 7 project that he was really trying to get started and work on. But I was never so happy to be wrong, you know. It mattered to people. For all of the long days where I had to get picked up by co-workers after school, shout out to Junior up there, you see ya. The late nights on a drafting board, working on AutoCAD, the missed family time, the interrupted vacations, the sacrifices, it mattered. Take the time out to tell your loved ones or people you appreciate, or the people that you appreciate that you do. Because there's a time where God's going to call us all, and he's going to call us home. And we want to make sure that they know that they're appreciated because they can't put that call to voicemail. From the Tudor family, we sincerely thank you for this amazing recognition of my father and his work. And we wholeheartedly appreciate it from our hearts. I pray my father continues to rest in peace, and I greatly thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Elir. I saw you when you began to feel his presence, and we saw you push out your chest and really deliver that. So you did a really, really good job. And thank you for helping us to understand how that balance was made. You were going for a drive, right? So on your program, we were supposed to have a dance by Shamaya Daniel, but unfortunately, she's not feeling well. So we're not going to have that dance today. But of course, we wish her all the best. She's another student from the Parkinson Memorial School. So I hope the Honorable Mia Amor Motley is ready for us because we are ready to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, to give the feature address.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. To Mrs. Tudor and to Alair, to the wider family of both Philip in the public service and Philip in the personal family, because the man who was described to you here today made everyone his family. And if there is one common theme running through everyone's speeches, it is the humanity of Philip Tudor. I perhaps have come to understand that when you speak last, almost everything has been said. But when you are speaking about a good man, there is never enough said. My memories of Philip go back to being a young minister 31 years ago. You add the numbers, he would have been a young officer. And in a very real sense, we worked well together because in those days, and For young MPs, I need them to understand how easy their life is now. But in those days, trust me, with an opposition of 10 and a government of 14 or 16 or whatever it was not easy pickings. And you had to fight to be able to get services done in your constituency in a very real way. And that fighting taught you from early that you don't start with the chief technical officer. So what I say today does not refer to Philip Tudor, the chief technical officer. It referred to Philip Tudor, the man down the ranks, who helped me, the girl, down the ranks. And out of that, we developed a healthy relationship that withstood my period of gestation in opposition. Philip treated everyone with dignity. And Alair, you said that his commitment was the same across administrations. I can attest to that. In fact, for many years, I genuinely did not know, and probably still don't, who Philip supported politically. And it didn't matter. It did not matter, because he was the consummate public servant and he was the consummate professional. But above all else, he was human. He was fair, and he was a man always who displayed heart. I say publicly for the first time that many people don't know that it was probably in my interactions with Philip in 2016 and 2017 that the shape of the Barbados Labour Party's manifesto, without his knowing it too, started to take root. And much of what Santia described as a learning experience, for me too, it became a learning experience. Because while I may have served as deputy chair of PPC under Owen Arthur, I never had the opportunity to work in an infrastructural ministry. And I'm not an engineer, but I am an advocate and I have strong views. And Philip and I learned to negotiate that very, very clearly and very happily. Yes, he never raised his voice, and yes, I may have been demanding, but he always knew that I never held him in mind, and there was never any malice. And that what we were simply trying to do was to make it easier for the people who we serve. I want to carry you through a few visits, because in that we better understand the man. When I talked about standing up and learning, it was often at the bottom of Military Road by the Scots household, which had perennial problems. And even though I was in opposition, Philip helped to solve those problems for us and laid the foundation certainly to complete it when we came back into office. Because as you know, the water would come down Bushall Main Road and go through the back by Review Road and settle right there by the back. Philip helped me solve that. When we went to Gall Hill, Santia referred to it. And Charles is not here because he's at a funeral. If not, he would be here. And I speak on his behalf too as we walked through Gall Hill. I think, Roy, you were with us that afternoon as well. And we determined, yes, there is a strong deficit of roads that had not been done for the better part of 6-7 years before we came into office. And those highways were in a difficult state. God knows the public has reminded us about it over and over and over. But the country suffered from two things. One, not only having those main roads and highways done for 6 or 7 years because of lack of funds, but also the fact that during lockdown, no roads were built because you just couldn't do the work during lockdown. So that the cumulative impact then combined with the other issues that we are facing in today's world with the climate and the intensity of rainfall and the backing up of drains and wells because we no longer have a plantation system across the island working at optimal levels meant that there was more than enough to command the government's attention on simply fixing the main highways and byways. But Philip understood when I put the question to him as we walked through Gall Hill, that to do that without addressing the small roads, without addressing the cart roads, without addressing the tenantry roads, that we would be doing a disservice to the taxpayers who in fact were financing also the major highways and byways. And Santia spoke about the all too often told story about us wanting to ensure that people don't have to walk about with 2 pairs of shoes just to be able to get in and out of their house. I remember this even more poignantly, and I see Abdul here, because as a young person not yet in Parliament but attending the Parliament of Barbados, I distinctly remember a debate in which Don Blackman and Henry Ford and others all engaged on the importance of doing tenantry roads because it was not accepted. But even as they debated, nothing happened for many decades. We got a few roads done when the urban first started and the rural first started initially. In the early days, they used to do some road works, and obviously their mission changed over the years because it was felt that it was not being efficient enough. So that Philip understood then and helped me work it out that afternoon, how it would be possible with the investment of certain pieces of equipment, what we could possibly do to be able to bring relief to ordinary people while at the same time still paying attention to the major highways and the bridges. I better understood this when, in spite of all of the people who would complain and find every excuse, Philip made it his business to help me get Murphy Pasture sorted out. And Murphy's Pasture was not easy. I see everybody in here laughing because you know exactly what I mean. And in my recent visit, only a few weeks ago, I recognized how much we are missing Philip still with that. He understood, and I say this for the benefit of all, the importance of engaging community people to be able to undo community tasks that were simple daily tasks. It makes no sense, and we have to find ways of framing it out. It makes no sense, particularly in areas that are of high drainage risk for flooding, for us to bring people from another part of the island to be able to resolve what really ought to be daily maintenance and daily cleaning to ensure that the backup does not happen. And when the backup happens, what are the consequences? That a family is put out to pasture from their house. That food or clothes or whatever you have put down there, gone. The consequences of the human tragedy are real. And Philip never let that escape the recognition that there needed to be a sense of urgency. It is true that my urgency might have been twice most, but he often met me most ways when it came to that. And I'm happy that we were able, for the second time, because this was first done under Dame Billy. And the important thing is, even as we finish it now, Minister Humphrey, that they be put down a proper part and proper stanchions to ensure that people do not put themselves in the way of harm again by going back where others went and suffered over and over and over. But the last real memory that comes to my head, not chronologically, but when I realized and started to step back on the pace with him a lot, was when we went to Coach Hill. And you may not even have known that day. When we walked down, went down to Pot House, after about 10, 15 minutes, I said, where Philip is? I know where Philip is. Philip started to take in the bad feels, and he stayed halfway up the hill, because obviously to go down the hill, you had to come back up. And I then understood, then that day for the first time, how acute the difficulties were that he was experiencing. In spite of that, Philip refused to stop or slow down, even when we spoke about it. And the truth is that I think Philip appreciated the fact that it wasn't working for the government or the prime minister or anybody so. Philip was working for ordinary people who he loved to interact with. And almost everywhere we went across Barbados, people knew him either as Tudor, Mr. Tudor, Boss Man, Red Man, whatever they chose to call him. But they spoke with a fondness. And that is why I had absolutely no difficulty in agreeing with the recommendations coming from the National Honours Committee. And I remind us that this government has taken a clear position that the right to name places or the right to do things in the honor of people must never be in the hands only of an elected government. A country is more than an elected government. And it is for this reason that I feel that the example that we set here by naming this boulevard after an outstanding public servant is a message that is not just for the memory and honor of his family, but it is a message from a country about to celebrate its 60th anniversary of independence and its 5th anniversary of a republic, that wherever you work in this country, you can provide value. And that the notion that we only focus on a political class without recognizing that there are people without whom the work in this country would not be possible. The foundation of what once was called civil servants, public servants, whatever you want to call them. But ultimately, people who come to work to keep the institutions running. We take for granted the importance of institutions. In every sphere of economic discussion and discussion on governance and democracy now, there is always a reference to strong institutions. And Barbados has been blessed by being able to inherit some of them from a colonial era, being able to create some of them of our own volition, but recognizing always that it is that institutional framework and institutional memory that will make a difference. The second thing that I want to say before concluding is that Philip was a can-do man. Whenever we asked him, is it possible to do ABC? He would say, I know, but give him a chance. And William, you will recall when he came back down to me around the dining table in Parliament a certain Tuesday, and when we started to try to work out how can we start to shift the emphasis from having persons from a centralized point take responsibility for maintenance and debushing, rather than, how can we move from that, to a point where we use people in the communities and districts such that they take ownership but also pride in what they're doing. And we argued about what was reasonable and not reasonable, and your point, Santi, about him then going and walking it and coming back and making sure that that was right. These are all the things that resonate because this is how Philip worked. And therefore, it is so easy to be able to speak this afternoon because the memories just come flowing, because the work, even though it was hard work, was rewarding work. And I say to you that I know that those families around Murphy's Pasture or those families in Trio Walk, or those families with the bridges, or those families in White Hill, or I can go from parish to parish to parish, or in Pike Corner, or wherever. Yes, that is where you had to go on drives. Because ambition, his ambition was as large as his humanity. And I want to say to those of you who lost him as a friend from work, that honor him by being the best that you can be and by treating people with the respect and dignity that he treated people with. It was never too much for him to be polite or civil to every person that he interacted with, certainly in my presence. And there were a lot of unmannerly constituents sometimes, angry constituents. Why? I said, all right. And I could see Tudor now doing it. And to his family, the loss of a loved one is never easy. I speak to you in the same week that I remember the loss of my brother 5 years ago. I say to you that the easiest way is to feel that they're in the next room, but you didn't get to talk to them yet today. It sounds foolish, but it works, and certainly for me. And not just to you, but to his sister, the reality is that the loss will never be easy. But we all know that we will all walk that way one day. And in that understanding, our faith is what will carry us. And I've heard in your speech, Alair, a great reference to faith. And you referred to God at least twice in your speech. It is that faith that will help make the difference, because it was not normal for him to be taken as young as he was taken. And it is not easy. But I hope that you will fully appreciate that memory and the love that attaches itself to that memory will hopefully make the journey easier for you year by year. And a time will come when you will pass here 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. Your children will pass, and people will ask them, are you related to him? And they will speak of him with pride, because you will have preserved the memory of his life and his contribution. But the public recognition will also propel in them a sense of ownership and belonging, and a sense of purpose that they too can make a difference wherever they choose to make it, because they come from a proud legacy that has already shown that that is possible. I have the greatest pleasure this afternoon to be associated with this event. And I say simply that one of the disadvantages of being in public life for as long as I have been is that the passing parade gets too quick and too many. And with each one, it doesn't get any easier. This country, regrettably, has lost in active public service a number of persons who were top of class. Philip Tudor was one. We lost a magistrate, young magistrate, Oliver, earlier this year. We lost the head of our military intelligence unit at the Barbados Defense Force, who was an outstanding public servant. And we lost also an outstanding young lady in Dr. Shelley Ann Cox. It is, yes, a reminder for balance, but at the same time, none of those people who I knew and referred to would ever slow down, because they were driven by a purpose of wanting to do better and be better. And that must still be our guiding spirit, because without purpose, we have no proper existence as human beings. And AI is going to remind us of that very shortly if we don't understand that purpose is critical to sanity and the integrity of the human body. I thank you for sharing him with us. I thank those of you at the Ministry of Public Works for supporting him and working with him and not causing him ever to say to me, Prime Minister, I want to change ministries. Not once. And I've had enough people tell me that to know that that is an unusual experience as well. So let us give thanks for his life, and let us ensure that we place at the right time his story as we reflect on those who contributed to the building of this great nation of ours. Thank you, and God bless Philip Tudor.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for sharing your reflections with us. He was a builder, but not just of roads. He was a problem solver. He was a connector of people. He was a leader, but also a team player, from what I'm hearing. He was a father, a husband, and a friend. And it mattered. If I was writing the feature about this, the headline would be, "It mattered." It really did. So we are now going to invite Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Terry Bascom, to probably have the easiest job to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening. A former head of protocol once said to me, Huey Allman, Terry, there's nothing such as protocol having been established. But guess what? He's not retired. and he's not among us. So protocol having been established. As we bring this memorable ceremony to its conclusion, I believe we leave here this evening with something much greater than we brought with us. We leave with a renewed appreciation for public service, and we leave with a deeper understanding of the difference that one committed individual can make in the life of a nation. Earlier this evening, we have been privileged to hear heartfelt reflections from a number of persons that included our Honorable Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister, and our Senior Minister. Each speaker reminded us from a different perspective why the life and work of Philip Adrian Howard Tudor deserve to be permanently woven into the history of our nation. Their words have spoken of leadership, vision, engineering excellence, and most importantly, they spoke of character. As Permanent Secretary in the ministry in which Philip proudly served for almost 4 decades, I have the privilege of proffering thanks to everyone who in some way contributed to this evening's unforgettable event. To the Honorable Prime Minister, thank you for your continued commitment to the recognizing excellence in the public service and public service leadership. To the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, thank you for your steadfast support to the ministry and for your thoughtful reflections on Mr. Tudor's remarkable contribution to our national development. To our Senior Minister, thank you for setting the tone of today's proceedings and reminding us why preserving the legacy of outstanding Barbadians is so important to our national identity. I extend gratitude to the students and staff of the Parkinson Memorial Secondary School. The young lady's performance certainly enriched the ceremony and reminded us all that the legacy of one generation is carried forward by the next. Permit me also to recognize the many individuals whose work often goes unseen. To the Planning Committee, the officers of the Ministry of Transport and Works, our partners across the government, and every person who worked behind the scenes to make today's ceremony possible. Please accept my heartfelt thanks. Most importantly, however, to Mrs. Leandra Tudor, to Alair, and to the entire Tudor family, thank you. Thank you for sharing Philip with this ministry and with the people of Barbados. We recognize that Philip's remarkable achievements stood behind those achievements stood a loving family whose encouragement, understanding, and unwavering support made his earthly journey possible. Please know that the ministry will forever regard Philip Tudor as one of its most distinguished officers. On behalf of the Ministry of Transport and Works, we thank you all for joining us this evening. May God continue to bless the Tudor family. May God bless the Ministry of Transport and Works. And may God continue to bless our beloved Barbados. Thank you, and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bascom. So now we've come to the most significant aspect of this evening. It's the official unveiling of the Philip Tudor Boulevard. So I'm going to invite Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Amor-Motley, Deputy Prime Minister, members of Parliament, constituency St. Michael South East, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw, Minister of Transport and Works, Coordinating Infrastructure, Senior Minister, Honorable Kirk Humphrey, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Dr. the Honorable Romel Springer, wife of the late Philip Tudor, Dr. Lysandra Tudor, and their son, Alair, other family members. Please join us as we go over to unveil the signage on the outside. Now, we don't want everybody on the road, but we do invite anyone who would like to come and view the unveiling to just come along on the outside as we go over to do the official unveiling. And of course, the media will be making their way over. So please allow our specially invited guests to move first, and then everyone else can go over to the other side to follow. Thank you.
Ready? Again? As this street is named in honor of Philip Adrian Tudor, Lord, we ask that it represents a living symbol of inspiration. May all who walk, drive, or bike here be reminded that true greatness is divine, defined not by titles or riches, but by the lives we influence and the love we leave behind. Lord, bless this street to be a place where kindness abounds and hope remains ever accessible. God, guide everyone who comes this way. May this street shine as a beacon, a gentle reminder that a single life lived with purpose can touch and change many others. So God, as we dedicate this street to honor a son of this nation, may the name fill up through the boulevard, inspire the vulnerable, encourage the shy, and fill every step with the spirit of hope, joy, peace, and a passion for possibilities. Let it be a path where young hearts dare to dream, where communities come together in love, and where stories of success inspire future generations. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much. And we have unveiled the sign. It is officially the Philip Tudor Boulevard. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And once we are finished with our pictures, please feel free to join us for refreshments by the tents on the right. Thank you so much for coming today, and have a wonderful evening.